Hey guys, I'm Dave and this is Strength Through Weakness. Welcome back. It is so good to have you along on this journey. All right, guys, so last week we talked about, for 5 minutes, we talked about 5 years, condensed, wrapped up as neat and tightly as possible. And this week we're going to kind of talk about two separate incidences that happened in my life. One was about 15 years ago and one was about 5 months ago. So let's start with 15 years ago. Right, I was living back in California, the grand old state where you have to smog your vehicle all the time. It's expensive. There's often something wrong with your vehicle, and it was just like a dreaded experience. I hated it. Right? I love it in Idaho. It takes like 5 minutes. You pull up, you're done, you're gone, you're out. It's $20, and it's golden. But in this particular day, I'm headed down the road. I got an appointment for a smog, and I'm about a quarter mile away from getting my smog. And I see a young lady walking down the street. I don't know why. I mean, there's probably all kinds of people on the street, but I happen to notice this young lady. I'm about a quarter of a mile away still, so I pull down the road, go into the smog place. I go in, I talk to the people. They say, hey, it's going to be a couple hours. Go find something to do and come back later. All right, cool. There's a Harbor Freight across the street. I'll go peruse some tools. That's always so hard to do, right? So I begin to walk out of the place and turn the corner to head across the street, and bam, almost directly in my path is this young lady. I can now see that she's crying and she's extremely distraught, and immediately this thought pops into my head, and it's like, go talk to her. And I know immediately that's God, and I also know immediately that that's weird. I don't do that. I don't talk to random people on the street. I may talk a whole lot, but I don't typically talk to random strangers. Certainly young ladies, and certainly ones that are crying as they wander down the street. So I have all these moments, these probably perfect times to stop and say, hey, are you okay? Is there anything I could do for you? Can I help you? But that's not what happens. What happens is I just close up, pucker up, tight as possible, walk across the street, wander around Harbor Freight, thinking to myself, maybe I should go walk out now. Maybe I should go chase her down. Maybe I should see if she's okay. Maybe, right? All of that leads to absolutely nothing, except for 15 or so years later, I still have regret as to, I wonder what God was trying to do on that day. What might have happened had I responded the way he called me to, right? So now we're going to look at 5 months later. I hope I've learned my lesson. And I heard God clearly speak to me again, and I knew that I had to respond. So we're sitting in church, and there's this guy from this ministry, and he's just sharing about all the amazing things that they're doing around the world, not just for humanity and to feed people and to love on people, but for the case of Christ, to be able to share the gospel. So they're doing these two things together, and it's just like so amazing. Ruth and I have been supporters of this ministry for a long time. Our church supports them, and it was just so cool, right? But then he says, seemingly out of the blue, he says, I'm getting older, and who will take my place when I need to retire? Who will do this work? This is not a normal job. Who's going to do this? And I clearly heard God saying, Dave, I'm calling you. That's scary. That's not normal. That's weird. God, I don't want to do that. All of these thoughts begin to go through my head. But one thing I have learned from that experience 15 years ago is you better act quick. You better do what you're told, because every moment that goes by is a moment to find an excuse not to do what you were asked to do. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, immediately after service, I got to go talk to this guy. I have to do it as soon as the service ends. Then I'm thinking, well, this is a big deal. I can't do this without talking to Ruth. How in the world, what am I going to do? And I just realized, Isaiah 6:8, it talks about this. It talks about God saying, whom shall I send? And then Isaiah saying, here I am, send me. And so I showed Isaiah 6:8 to Ruth, and you know how she responded? She said, well, I guess you better go talk to him then. I was blown away. I was like, God was paving the way for this to happen. So immediately I went and I talked to him, and that's sparked all kinds of things. And I don't know ultimately what God's going to do from that, but I do know this, that God has changed the trajectory of what I thought I was supposed to do. He's changed that direction immensely. And, wherever I end up, and hopefully you guys will come along with me on this journey, is all going to be directly correlated to that particular moment. So I had to share that moment with you, and that's what this week's video is all about. I hope that you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. If you share it with somebody and they're inspired or encouraged, man, awesome. If you're inspired and encouraged, awesome. If you're just trying to support me, awesome. All of it's good. And that's it, man. Signing out.